Hi everyone, Justin here with LT Wright Knives, and today I've got you out here in the woods with me and we're looking for Y branches. I need to build a specific rig for cooking today, and I thought I'd bring you along with me to show you the process and how I go about creating it myself. It is known as the Burtonsville Rig. It has been around for quite some time. It's nothing new. I don't know the exact origin of it. If you do, let me know down in the comments. I'm curious. I do know the name was coined back in the 70s and 80s from a man named Morris Kahansky. So I had watched some videos that he had done many years ago, and I've been using this rig for a couple decades now when I'm out in the woods. Now, the purpose of a Burtonsville rig is to be able to suspend your cook pot above the fire. Sometimes you may not want to put your pot directly into the fire, into the coals. And so if you want to suspend it over the fire, this will allow you to do that. It'll also allow you to do it naturally. Again, no cordage whatsoever. Now you could easily create a tripod with 3 sticks, wrap some paracord around it, and suspend your cook pot that way. But I believe with this specific rig, it allows you the opportunity to increase your skill set. I try to turn it into a fun routine. Routines go a long way, right? They take our minds off things, especially work, stress. If you're into sharpening knives, for instance, I love sharpening knives, and you know what I'm talking about, sitting down at the knife sharpening bench and just spending an hour there sharpening knives. It's very therapeutic. And for me, this is the exact same thing. It's almost like therapy, creating that routine, going through the practice, and learning those new skill sets. So the only real tools that we're gonna need are things like maybe a saw and a knife. The saw for cutting the branches off of, some deadfall on the ground, and basically a knife to carve out some notches and so forth. The knife I'm using today is the LT Wright Les Stroud version of his field knife. I've had it for a couple months now, and it's quickly growing on me for bush tasks. All right, it's great for camp kitchen and a lot of other things, but we're going to use this knife today for notching and a few other things, just carving some spear points and whatnot. So let's go find those Y branches. Searching for 2 Y branches that are about the same length. We're looking at probably anywhere between 5 and 6 feet in length, give or take. Also going to need one very long branch to suspend the pot, and then another longer branch to be able to cut the notches on to hang the pot. A lot of debris back in here. Just kind of scouring the ground, looking for anything that I can find here that's already on the ground. That way I don't have to cut anything off of any trees. A lot of grassy area back here, probably full of ticks and chiggers. Tell you what, if you guys don't use that Sawyer spray, the yellow bottle stuff, you know what I'm talking about? That stuff works amazing, especially out in areas like this, for keeping insects off of you, especially ticks. All right, some more deadfall here, but it looks rotted. That piece is too big right there. That piece is going to be too big. And it's rotted. A lot of rabbit burrows out here. There's one right there. Looks like another one right there. And another one right there. So I found a Y branch right here. You can see the Y in this, and then the long portion here that we're going to need. And then I found one up here on the top. You can see the Y right here, and then the long extension that we need. All right, so we're going to cut these 2 out of this deadfall here. All right, so we got our Y right here. Saw it off a little bit further down the line here. Good day for sawing up wood. Got our first one right there. Second one right here. All right, we'll clean this piece up here in just a minute, but we've got this one now. We just need to saw out the bottom. I'm just going to take my first one and kind of measure down, see what we're looking at there. All right, These two guys are ready. I just came across this longer branch right here. It's about 10 foot long, maybe 9 foot or so, give or take. We're going to use this. This is what's going to lay long ways over those Y branches, and the pot will suspend with another limb off the tip of this. And we'll get to that in just a minute. But this is the limb that we're going to use. It's about 9 to 10 feet in length. I think I found the last one right here. It's going to be straight enough to use to hang the pot. All right, so I'm going to start by cleaning up these two Y branches. You don't have to do this. It's not necessarily needed, but I just like to clean things up. So we're just going to saw off that little edge there, kind of even it up. All right, and as you can see, we've got our Y right here. All right. On the opposite end, we want to create some type of a spear point here to be able to drive this into the ground. All right, to do this, you can use your knife to carve one. This one's got a lot of rot on it. Doesn't have to come to a super sharp point, just something that would easily catch in the ground. I wouldn't spend more than, a minute or two on this, max. And if you wanted to, you could always do a little bit of batoning on this, make things go faster. I would call that good enough. All right, that one's done. All right, taking a look at this second one here. Not too concerned about all this, but we'll go ahead and take it off. We might be able just to smash that guy off. Save our saw blade a little bit there. All right, this Y looks good enough. Again, we need to create some type of a spear point here on the end. This stuff is rotting up fast here. You can see where all the larvae have gotten in there and begin to eat away at it. That's a knot and a half right there. So let's see if we can drive some of this off with our mallet here. And you could use another piece of wood if you don't have a mallet. Put that guy off there. All right. And I'm feeling that 100-degree weather out here today in North Carolina. It is sizzling out here in the woods. That one was a little bit tough. All right, so I would call that one good enough. Just enough to get it in the ground. Try to keep a clean workspace, less likelihood of getting hurt. All right, next up. Here I've got that 9-foot piece, and I'm gonna do a little cleanup here with this. Again, not necessary, but I'm just gonna get rid of some of this stuff here. Clean this guy up some. That's gone, that's gone. All right. Don't need this, we'll just take this off. All right. On the larger end, we are going to need to create a spear point here for going into the ground. And let's see here. All I'm going to do is just tap this guy in. There's a lot of different ways to use a knife. Just got to sometimes improvise the angle, whatever works. Always err on the safe side though. If something feels sketchy, don't do it. Don't do it. All right. Take it in a little bit more here. I don't know if you've ever been cut by a knife. I have. I've got a pretty good scar right there I've had for roughly about 30 years. I learned my lesson real quick. So I take my time, I don't rush. Some guys are really good with a knife, can move quickly. I try to take my time. All right, get it a little bit more pointed off there. Doesn't have to be perfect, but we're going to get it pretty close. All right, I believe that's going to be good for the spear. Now on the other end, this is a crucial part of it. You want to sit this up to kind of feel where it's going to hang. So if I was to put a lever right here, where would this sit? And you kind of saw it rotate there just like that. That's what we're looking for, the natural fall of this, what it's going to look like. So right about there for me. So this is how I'm going to work on this top, is I want to slice this off directly on the top going this direction to create a platform on top of this. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and just notch that guy straight off, create like a platform there. What we want is a flat surface here to work with. Probably gonna take it down just a little bit further back here. All right, I brought you in a little closer to show you here how to do this notch. This is that tabletop that I was talking about. We just carved this off. And what we want to do is create a notch here close to the edge. We don't want it too far back here. It's not going to do us any good. We want it somewhat here close to the edge, but we need to leave enough room so that there's a bite mark right here, something to grab a hold of. So somewhere down here towards the end, we can just go ahead and start there by drilling a hole with our knife. Again, take your time with this. No reason to rush. but you're just going to drill out a hole. This right here is where a good Kephart blade would come into play. So something like a LT Wright Genesis or a Next Gen would work really good for creating these little notches here, these little holes, basically because the blade is like a spear point. So we're just going to continue to dig out here just a little bit further. You can do it with just about any knife, but again, that Kephart blade is going to give you a little bit of an advantage here. All right, it doesn't have to be too deep, maybe about a 1/4 inch. Half inch is going to be too far probably. All right, a little bit further here. All right, I'm gonna get it a little bit wider here towards the front. One thing I really like about this Les Stroud field knife is the A2 steel on this is extremely easy to sharp. I've been able to manage to put a quick edge on this thing just by stropping it with a leather strop. Works great. So, excellent knife. The balance is really good. Blistering sharp when you put it on a good sharpening stone. I love a full flat grind. LT does a great job with his flats. Better than anybody else I've ever seen. All right. Let's get up there on the front just a little bit more. Again, it's crucial. You've got a little bit of a lip there on that end. Get you in there a little tighter. You got a little bit of a lip here. It's not much, but it's enough to be able to bite, okay? So very crucial to have that. You don't want to create a notch off of the end, okay? All right. Now we may have to adjust this a little bit as we go along, but we've got this part completed. So this one's done. The 9-foot piece is cut out. We've notched off the end, created a spear point on it, and put our notch here on this end. So we're done with this for right now. All right, this next piece, I've got quite a bit of sawing to do here. And we're just going to pick the straightest piece, which is looking like this one here. Doesn't have to be really thick in diameter, just something that's fairly straight. We could probably even go with this smaller one right here. I believe we're going to do this one. So we're going to take it off here and then go down as far as we can go. All right, we might need some of this later, not sure, so we'll just set it aside. And now we just need to clean this piece up a little bit. Probably break that off, yep. Probably break that off. And we're just going to saw off right here where this next split, this next Y is. We'll just saw it off right there. Now what I went ahead and did is grabbed a different branch real quick. This one's about 3 foot in length. And the reason why I chose something a little different is I was looking for something here that already had like a notch built into it. And this one already had a Y branching off here. So I want to utilize this because I'm going to have to put a couple more on here. And I'll show you how to do that in just a second, but I'm going to start off with at least having one already made, okay? So down here on the bottom, we just need one notch cut for our bell handle on our pot, okay? So we'll start with that one first. And it doesn't matter where you put it, which side. I'm just going to put it down here on the end, and you kind of want an extreme angle on the X on this. So we can start right there. If you go too deep, you'll chew it off, which is fine. You can just move up a notch. All right, just like that. Something to keep in mind too is when we're doing this, our notches on the top are going to be facing downward. This one on the bottom, since it's holding the bell handle, this notch, the V notch, needs to be facing upwards. Okay, so we're going to carve that one out going down. Just take your time with this, clean that up a little bit. Again, it doesn't need to be perfect, but it does need to be able to, your bell handle needs to be able to grip in on this notch. It may not be pretty, but this is also part of being out here and practicing. The more you do this, the better you're going to get at it. All right, so as you can see here, now I've got this notch cut out. My bell handle from my pot will hook right on top of this. Okay, and I'll show you that in just a minute. Now for the top, again, we're facing downward to hold on. I'm going to create at least 2 more here to give me some options for the height. All right, so I'm going to create another X here, and probably another couple inches down, I'll create another one. Be careful not to chew through it all the way again, because if so, you got to find another stick. All right, and again, our hook needs to be facing down, so we're going to cut this way. I may need to go in a little bit deeper there. Old horse flies after me out here. Got me a second ago. Soaking wet from all the sweat. All right, let's get in there and carve that guy out. Okay, there's one right there. You can kind of see what I'm talking about. This one up here already acts as one, so you might as well use it in your favor. Okay. All right, let's go one more. Don't want to go too far. And remember, we're going up. This is some hardwood here. Got a couple knots in my way. I put a good edge on this the other day. A2 works pretty good out here. It does need a touch up from time to time, especially if you're doing a lot of batoning and woodcraft out here in the woods, which I do quite regularly, about every day, every other day. And so I touched it up the other day, got it pretty good and sharp for today's video. But I have been using it now for a couple hours, so I know it's starting to tear away at that apex a little bit. All right, I'm just going to take some of this off here, a little bit of material to give me some clearance on this. I'll show you why in just a minute when we get over to the pole. A little bit of clearance there. This one's already got a little bit of clearance. We'll give it a little bit more there. All right. All right, so now we're going to begin to put it together. This is also the time when I'm gonna usually look for things that need to be adjusted. Again, everything out here is just kind of done by eyeball. It's not precise. We don't have any cutting tools out here like skill saws and cutting boards and stuff like that. So everything may need to be adjusted, and usually about 100% of the time I have to adjust something. So that's what we're gonna look for first. 2 Y branches, my longest branch here. Again, you can make it as long or really as short as you want. I use it as a counterbalance like this. That's why I like one to be so long. And then our pot holder over here. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna lift up our longest pole. And again, we're gonna kind of just jab that end down into the ground so that it's stationary. I want that flat top to be facing upward. And so this is how it kind of just lies generally. What I'm gonna do is go ahead and use those 2 Y branches now to bring up underneath here. Again, they've got somewhat of a spear point to hold them. And once I've got those in place, it's naturally gonna hold it up. You'll notice these Y branches hold it firmly in place, okay? That's what we're looking for. Now, next thing we need to do is measure and check and make sure that our pot holder is gonna work on the end of this. If you remember, we've got that little piece on the top, that Y branch portion, and all I'm gonna do is put that in my little notch I've built there and make sure that that fits. It looks pretty good to me. It just hangs naturally and freely there. The other 2 notches I've created, I wanna make sure those fit in there as well. Looks pretty good. And that one looks like it's gonna hang pretty naturally as well. Once we get some weight on this, it'll hold it up. It'll hold itself up, all right? So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and grab that bell handle with the end of this. And I'm just gonna measure, all right? That seems to hang pretty freely. I like the distance to the ground. My fire can be underneath here. If I want to adjust this up and leave it there, or I want to take it down a little lower because I can't really go any lower here, I can adjust my Y branches outward like this to find the spot where I want it, all right? And so you just kind of have to play around with it a little bit there, figure out what's working best for you. Obviously, if I want it to cook or boil, I'm gonna have it in the fire just like this. If I want to bring it up a couple notches, again, that's why I created those notches there for simmering. All right, and we can go up one more, it looks like right there. And that's in place. And again, the weight from this is going to keep this from teeter-tottering off. And you can move it around quite a bit. As you can see, side to side, left and right. As long as you've built this correctly, it should not come off. All right, so there, and there. So I wanted to bring you in a little bit closer here to show you exactly what's going on. Again, we're just dropping these 2 Y branches together and bringing that center pole through both Ys. And that's gonna hold it firmly in place, right? So we don't have to worry about it going one way or the other. That backside spear is in the ground for the most part. That's also gonna act as a counterweight so that we don't have to worry about this coming forward, all right? So everything's nice and tight in here. Again, this is sitting pretty much the way it would sit, and we've carved our shelf off here. And then again, we're just gonna use that bottom bell notch there to grab that up, and we can use that first one there to hold that in place. That's gonna allow our pot to hang freely. And then if we want it to simmer again, we can bring it up a notch right there in that hole. We can bring it up to the top one if we want to get it out of the heat almost entirely there. As you can see, it's fairly stable. If you wanted to spend a lot more time, you could drill this out a little deeper and make this V-notch a little bit more pointy so that it fits in there a little bit further. If it's not windy out, I wouldn't worry about that too much. You don't have to spend a ton of time doing that. But again, this is fairly substantial enough. And there you have the Burtonsville rig. These are a ton of fun to create. I've created a couple dozen of these in my lifetime. What you can do from here is begin to work on your fire. And again, having a good knife like this Les Stroud Field Edition from LT Wright. It's gonna come in handy with that 90-degree spine. Again, for preparing your wood, creating tinder, and also using a ferro rod. That 90-degree spine is gonna give you those sparks that you need to get that fire going real quickly, okay? So let me know in the comments if you plan on trying to do one of these, and also let me know how you fared at it if you did give it a shot. I'm curious to know. Once again, I'm Justin Johnson with LT Wright Knives, and I'll see you next time.